Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Football Fan Show podcast. Joining me, Danny Harrington, this week is our guest Thomas Moore. We're going to be chatting about fans returning to stadiums and how it's positive for football. Football has missed its fans and they are set to come back next week when Lockdown 2 Electric Boogaloo ends. We'll also be talking about Celtic and their manager. Is it time for Neil Lennon to go? And we'll have a look at the runners and riders in line for that job. We'll also take a look at the runners and riders in line for the Derby County job as well and who will get it. We'll have a look at the odds as well on that one. We'll also be paying tribute to an absolute football legend, Diego Maradona, who we are too young to have ever watched, but do remember the 2010 World Cup when he was the craziest manager of Argentina. And finally, our final talking point will be about EA Sports. Is Zlatan and his super agent Mino Raiola about to sue EA Sports for the use of his image? Without further ado, let's get started. Let's get into the main talking point then of today's show and kick off the show proper. Those are your Champions League fixtures. Let's kick off with the main news. Fans are back in stadiums from next week. Now, I think, Tom, you were on the show when we last talked about fans back in stadiums because we just went, well, you know, if a theatre can be open for an Arsene Wenger, a book talk, why can't you fit 10,000 people in front of a 90,000 Wembley stadium? But now that we've learned what tier systems we're in, of course, fantastic clubs like Truro City will have 40% capacity. The world beaters Truro City, because they're in Cornwall. And I don't know any clubs in the Isle of Wight or the Scilly Isles. All I know, that's the only team I know in Cornwall is Truro FC. That's it. Truro City Football Club. That's all I know. They get 40% capacity because they're in a tier 1 system. So what are the rules? It's 20% if you're in tier 2 or 2,000. Whatever's first. So if you're in a big stadium like Old Trafford, then it'll be 2,000. If you're Swindon Town, for instance, it's 20%. So it's, 1,554 or 56, I think it was. So it's not going to be the full 2,000. But, yeah, Premier League clubs are going to be welcoming back. We already know that the RFU are giving away 400 tickets to the end of the Autumn International Series for NHS workers. Apparently, there are some controversial plans around Chelsea and the Leeds game next week. Maybe ticket prices being driven up to accommodate the loss of revenue. That's the one thing I worry about. That's the one thing I don't want is football fans to be kind of be screwed over because clubs haven't made a lot of money this year. That they just hike up the prices. Say if it's like 40 quid to go watch a League 1 team or League 2 team or something like that. Because at least non-league clubs, the National League got a bit of a bailout, but League 2 and League 1 teams, they got sweet FA. So, let me read the rules for you. So a club like Arsenal, they're going to be the first top-flight club to welcome back 2,000 fans when they host Austrian side Rapid Vienna in the Europa League next week on December 3rd. So Arsenal could be the first club in the country to have fans in the stadium. Arsenal said tickets would be sold on a first-come, first-served basis, which I think is fair enough, to members who had registered for the ballot earlier this season. Several other regions with Premier League clubs are also bringing back fans, Brighton and Southampton. However, clubs in Manchester will have to wait after Greater Manchester was classified in the Tier 3, the highest alert, which means that they cannot bring back fans. But hey, we're in tier 2. It means that I'm going to go into a pub next week, order 8 pints and a packet of crisps. That's a substantial meal, isn't it? A packet of crisps. Don't know. What they don't clarify what they mean by substantial meal, do they? I don't know. Don't try that.
I'll have a carvery and 12 shots.
I'll have a carvery and 15 pints of ale, 12 shots, and a glass of rum. Happy about fans coming back? Obviously, that's a dumb question. Of course you are, but it's nice to get some atmosphere. At least we can get rid of. Can we now get rid of the stupid crowd noises that they use on Sky Sports and BT Sport, where it's clearly somebody in a production truck pressing a button? Because whenever they miss the target, you get the yow, and then quickly, they cut to the cheer, yay, and then they quickly have to cut to the oh. It sounds terrible, but nice to have fans back, right?
Absolutely, I'm all for it. I'm super happy about it. Because it'll give not only will it give the game a bit of ebb and flow, but it would also mean that we're not essentially. Oh, hang on, what's going on with my camera?
Oh, you're fine. You're still on with us.
All right, excellent. It'll bring that back. Obviously, it'll bring some much needed financial gain to the Premier League, which is pretty much all they care about, as we've seen from the way that the majority of them from the way the Premier League have handled box office and other features of this current pandemic football season. It'd be a massive help to lower league clubs as well. The good thing is that. So some of the lower league clubs, when they say you can have max 2,000 people back, some of them that's their max capacity, because that's what they mostly attract.
So with that kind of I was going to say, if that's the case, then is it really worth having fans back?
Yeah. It's
you know what?
Strange, isn't it? How Oxford's stadium capacity is 5 times what their last census showed us the population.
Can I just say? I just wanted to say this because I've just gone on the Sun website, and they've got an article on the Oxford Swindon match because the Oxford fans sat in trees to watch the game. The Kassam Stadium has 3 stands, and the west stand is missing, so there is no west stand. So what they did was they've got a few trees there, and they what did they do? They parked a van there, climbed the van, and then jumped on the tree, so they were able to watch the match. And a group of fans. I don't think they were told off because they were all socially distancing. They were socially distancing, and that is playing by the rules. So it'll be great to have fans back. Yeah, fair play to them. It's the what is it? The A something derby.
It was what? Sorry.
What's the road between Oxford and Swindon? What is it? The A3. What's it called?
Highway to Hell.
I'm a Swindon fan and I can't even name the derby. Just gotta love it. Gotta love it. Nice to have fans back eventually. Whenever that happens, whatever. So it's 20% capacity or 2,000 fans, whatever is whatever's lower. Fans coming back to stadiums, we're happy about that. We can move on then. We didn't need to spend that long on that. It was nice to have fans back. Of course it was. Let's pay tribute to the Hand of God, or as Bobby Robson once called him, the Hand of a Rascal. Diego Maradona, passing away this week. Is he the greatest player of all time? And I've done a bit of research on this. And I was more looking at Pele because I think we in Europe are obsessed with how good Pele was, but apparently the Brazilians aren't obsessed with Pele. They think players like Garrincha were better than Pele. And there's this revisionist approach to Pele saying that, half his goals are against rubbish federation teams from Brazil. So it's like putting Harry Kane of Tottenham Hotspur up against Vauxhall Motors of the Northern Premier League every week or something like that. That's what they try and say anyway. Maradona though, just obviously he's before our time, and my overwhelming memory of Maradona is USA '94 scoring that goal, and he's all coked up and he runs towards the camera and he just looks like an absolute madman. And for that celebration, he got investigated by FIFA and found to be on high doses of cocaine. So he then got suspended. And, of course, he was Argentina manager when the 2010 World Cup was on. I think the players loved having him as manager, but I don't think the media did. I think the media were a bit sceptical, but...
He was basically Di Canio at Swindon.
I mean, yeah, but not as good. I think he got quite lucky with the Argentinian national team. 91 appearances for his country, 34 goals. The way is put to me by someone, that state funeral that he had, was when you know the musical Evita. It was kind of like that. Evita Perón's state funeral in Argentina. It was. The amount of people gathering. I mean, the police had to use tear gas to separate people and keep them socially distanced. It was madness. But I mean, his managerial career is not really that much to talk about. I mean, Argentina being the only real club of note, unless you count Al Wazal of the UAE Premier League. Oh, well, I mean, I guess he did coach at Racing Club in 1995, but then he returned to manage. But then he had a massive pause in his managerial career between 95 and 2008. But obviously, we'll know him from the hand of God goal. That goal he scored afterwards, though, just a fantastic strike. Barcelona, he played 2 years for them, 36 appearances, 22 goals. Of course, he was much fondly remembered in Napoli. 188 appearances, 81 goals. They are thinking of renaming the stadium that Napoli play at, the Stadio San Paolo, to the Stadio Diego Maradona, which I think would be quite nice. He obviously played a lot of games for them. And his career at Napoli kind of ended when he scored goals against Italy at Italia 90, and then they kind of all fell out with him. But an amazing career for him. And there's this picture going around now of the club he was at after Napoli, which was Sevilla, where he was there for a year. And there's a picture of Gazza at Lazio and him at Sevilla playing in, I think it must have been the Champions League or the Europa or UEFA Cup or something. Any memories of Maradona? Are you going to go with the crazy El Loco tag as Argentina boss, or the massively cheating bastard that he was against England, or the fantastic goals that he scored?
I think when you look at someone's legacy, you got to look at both sides of it. You know, you've got to look at what made it and also what tarnished it as well, to get a full picture of the kind of player he was. It was, it's like. I mean, if you rewind back a good few years when George Best died, how he was remembered. He was obviously quite fondly remembered, but also drew attention to the fact that he did his celebrating in a pub and the scoring in the bedroom most times.
I mean that could also be described. The pub bit not, but the celebrating. I mean, he did have many affairs. Diego Maradona.
Yes.
He loved women. So, yeah.
Yes. So I think my last memory of him was watching an Instagram story of Salt Bay, the one that makes the salt, and he was cooking it in front of Diego Maradona, and the man looked like he had the meat sweats before he'd even eaten it. He had the widest nostrils you'd ever seen. I mean, we'll probably leave that there. But he's sitting there going all like this, and then watching the steak being cooked, and then just going like this and everything like that. So I'm just like, yeah, we know what you've been up to. But all joking aside, um, it's a massive loss for the world of football. Obviously, so many like managers and former players were obviously very close to him. Um, One of the things that I think hasn't helped the view on the situation. I don't know if you saw this news story, but there's a funeral director in Argentina who's been sacked for taking a selfie with Maradona's corpse in the coffin.
Ooh, no, no, no. That's
Um,
a big no-no. That's a big
and the
no-no.
guy has been sacked from his job, and he's been begging for forgiveness after he's received several death threats from people all around the world.
I mean, what was he expecting? You don't do something like that. I
Mm.
don't like it. I
That
don't feel any sympathy for him.
that would literally be the equivalent of somebody um, doing this hand sign behind the Queen's head as she's keeling over from a heart attack.
Exactly. You wouldn't do it. You just wouldn't do it,
No.
would you? You just no. Have a modicum of respect, man. That's what it's all about. Goodness. We should also say that he did help Argentina win two World Cups, something that they haven't done since Maradona's retirement, and that I think he's godfather to loads of Argentinian players' kids. I think is he Lionel Messi's
He's
godfather,
probably
and then he's
he's probably
godfather, I think,
he's
to
probably
go on.
I was going to say he's probably father to a lot of Argentinian kids as well.
Hey, we'll have lesson. No, no, no. Yeah, I think he's Messi's godfather, and then I think he's godfather to Sergio Aguero. Oh no, I think he's father. Sergio Aguero, man, I can't remember. He's related to Aguero in some way. I think Aguero married into the Maradona family. I think so. Yeah, they are. I mean, they were all playing for him under 2008 and between 2008 and 2010. He made South Africa. He made that World Cup for me. It was spectacular to see this clear. It would be like the English equivalent would be like Gascoigne becoming England manager. And that's never going to happen because Gascoigne is nowhere near good enough to ever be England manager. And neither was Maradona anywhere near good enough to be Argentina manager. He just was. And you know what? I think I enjoy. What do you remember of that World Cup from Argentina?
Um, to be fair, the only thing I can remember of that World Cup was the antics of Diego Maradona. Um, that's literally what I can remember from it. I remember that I think I remember who won it. Spain won the World Cup, and they had that absolute barn burner of a semi-final. I think against actually no, that was 2014, the semi-final between Holland and Spain, where four players got sent off.
That was a final.
Was that the final? Oh
Yeah,
wow,
I'm sure
okay.
that was a 2010 final because I remember somebody got who got sent off in that final. Because it was the Netherlands versus Spain in the final of the 2010 World Cup, and somebody got sent off. Who got sent off in that final? I can't remember. I'm gonna have to Google this. But
And they had that really infectious anthem as well, "Waving Flag" by Canaan, and it
oh
was
yeah, and then
really
they had
it's like
the lesser anthem of Waka Waka. This time for Africa. Oh goodness, what a terrible song. I can't remember. Oh no. So there should have been a red card, shouldn't there? And then Howard
mm,
Webb missed something, didn't he? And then I think the Dutch should have been
this,
down to 10 men. I think that was it.
and this is and this is what proved why English referees do not go to major finals. Apart from
Yeah.
Mark, Mr. Rudyard Kipling Battenberg.
He'll be very disappointed that the closing ceremony, there was a Shakira performance for Waka Waka, this time for Africa. I remember. Oh, you know what? My overwhelming memory of 2010 World Cup is, and I've just been reminded of it. Luis Suarez's handball against Ghana. Ghana should have been the first African team into a World Cup semi-final when they were robbed by Suarez, and because he handled the ball to stop them from scoring in extra time, went to penalties and Uruguay won.
Speaking of handballs around that time, I can't remember if it was the World Cup or the Euro qualifiers, but it was Thierry Henry's handball against Ireland that put the ball in the back.
That was the World Cup.
Yeah, and it didn't.
I remember.
Ireland never qualified.
I remember watching it.
Let's
just say Roy Keane's reaction was very different than my father's reaction.
Have you also noticed that they've never seen Thierry Henry and Roy Keane in the same Sky Sports studio very often?
I mean, Roy Keane doesn't have a problem with Thierry Henry, because if you ever watch that press conference that he did at Ipswich and he was asked about it, he just goes, well, the Irish team should have cleared the ball. He just went, cheating, but they should have cleared the ball. So I do remember that, and then I just remember any time Thierry Henry coming on the TV, my dad just going, that French frog bastard. So that's all I remember from that one. Hey, anyway, 2010 World Cup, what a memorable World Cup. Loved that one. And, of course, Diego Maradona kind of made it because he was absolutely mad. And you got to love the mad. You know what I do remember? 2018 World Cup, I remember the camera pans to Maradona. And he's just going like that to the camera.
He's going full
like that. Just full pelt like that at the camera. And, oh, goodness. I think he got in trouble for that, because I think the BBC commentators at the time had to say, we're sorry about Maradona's antics there. It's, goodness. West Bromwich Albion won, by the way. Sheffield United 0 at half-time. Gallagher with the goal for West Brom. So it looks like you might have been right, Tom, that Sheffield United are without hope. Which means I will be resigning from the head role of presenting this programme. I'll hand you my resignation and you can take over. Oh, Jesus. We'll keep an eye on that one as we go along.
The new talking point shall be Thursday nights.
Thursday nights, Europa League. Hey, well, it could be worse. It could be the Europa Conference League. That's to come next year. Who's going to be in that? Probably Everton. Probably Everton. EA Sports. Let's talk about this. In fact, actually, let's not talk about that, because I want to talk about Celtic. So before we get to that, I'm going to talk about Celtic, because we're going to go to the sack race, and we'll talk about Derby County as well. And then we'll have the final hour as just a video games chat, because we are on Twitch. So who are Derby County going to appoint next? Let's go through the odds of see if any of these names kind of prick up your ears, Tom. Wayne Rooney obviously is the caretaker manager. Do you think he should take the job?
No. I think
we're in agreement, sir.
No, I don't see him as the kind of person who can inspire a team whilst not being on it. So like if he's not on, so he could do the old classic player manager like they used to have back in the day, but I think for Rooney to want to really try his hand and focus on managing, he would have to retire, especially because the jobs of a manager, you can imagine these days, are probably that taxing that he probably won't have, the desire to actually play as well as manage. It would be either or with him. So I think Rooney, if he wanted to, would have to retire in order to take up the management role. But I don't see him as like someone like Frank Lampard, because you can tell Frank Lampard's got the passion where, to get the best out of his players, like the things he did at Derby County.
I think Wayne Rooney's a different kind of manager, though.
He's pragmatic. He's quite quiet, Wayne Rooney.
I think he's methodical. He's I think he'd be. I don't think he'd be a shouty manager like. I think he'd be a lot like Alex Ferguson. He'd play mind games with the press. I don't think he'd give the hairdryer treatment that much. The legendary hairdryer treatment that Fergie gave his players. But apparently, according to Rio Ferdinand midweek, when I was watching BT, he goes, well, the hairdryer treatment came out when we were doing well to keep us doing well. We never got the hairdryer treatment when we played badly, which I do not believe for a second. But I don't know. I never saw Frank Lampard being a successful manager. I thought he would fail badly, as I did with Steven Gerrard. So I didn't. Saw Gerrard doing better than Lampard, but I'm shocked how it's gone. I'm surprised John Terry's not a manager. He's the second favourite for the Derby County job. 4-6 with Bet Victor, 4-11 with Paddy Power.
I could see John Terry doing that. That could be a first proper step for him into management.
You know what I see, though? If he takes that job, a bunch of Chelsea players are being sent on loan to Derby County.
But that's good for them, isn't it? You know,
that's what they got when Lampard was in charge.
Absolutely. And when we had, look at Swindon Town. When you rewind back a few years, when we had Luke Williams there playing Anton Rodgers in midfield for Swindon Town, Brendan Rodgers' son, we got all of Liverpool's loan players as well.
Oh, goodness.
None of them were any good.
Yeah. I remember Blair Sturrock playing for Swindon when Paul Sturrock was a manager.
Oh God!
I remember that.
We had some good attackers when Paul Sturrock was in charge. Lucas Jutkovic springs to mind.
What the bloody hell happened to Billy Bowden in the end? I always thought he was going to be an absolute stellar player, and then he just sodded off somewhere. And I don't think it was his decision to go. I think the club just went, nah.
Last I heard of him, I thought he was playing for Northampton Town.
I think he might be still. I think he's still playing. I know he went to Torquay. But obviously he's not there anymore because they're in the National League. I think he played for...
Played for Bristol Rovers.
Yeah, he played for Bristol Rovers. I think he went from Torquay to Bristol Rovers to Northampton. I thought he was... I thought he was always going to be a stellar player. And it turns out I was wrong. I thought he was always going to be really good. But where is he now? Preston North End. That's where he is.
Which isn't too bad.
It's not a bad move, you know.
Could have been. Yeah. Could have moved a few miles the other direction and played in Wigan.
Yeah, and where would he be now? Back to Derby County though. So John Terry is currently the favourite. Wayne Rooney's second favourite at 5-4. Sam Allardyce at number 3 in your chart. 20-1 though with Bet Victor. 11-1 with Paddy Power. I don't see Sam Allardyce wanting that job either.
No. To be fair, everyone will look at him and say like he's a Premier League survival manager, but I think Sam Allardyce has kind of gone the way of Arsene Wenger. I think the game's grown beyond him.
I think Sam Allardyce retired. I think he's happy doing what he does, occasionally popping up on Sky and doing a bit of punditry work or commentary work sometimes, and I think he's all right with that.
He hasn't managed since he got found out in that scandal.
He is the greatest England manager. He is the greatest England manager ever. He was in charge of Everton, wasn't he, though, for that short spell? He was Everton manager. That gave him a bit of redemption after the whole England debacle, but he is the greatest England manager of all time. 100% record. 20-1. Paul Cook is next, a former Wigan Athletic manager, who's somebody that I wanted to get the Swindon job, but obviously... We decided to go for the Wigan manager, John Sheridan.
Who is it we want to give the Swindon job?
Paul Cook.
That would have been a better shout.
He was my second choice behind the Cowley brothers, Danny Cowley.
But they would have been super expensive, only because they had that little taste.
Ambitious. Yeah, you got to be ambitious though. Paul Cook is a good manager as well, and I would like to have seen him get the job. But we went cheap and cheerful. We went for John Sheridan. Because we lack ambition, apparently.
The problem is the fact that, and I was chatting to someone the other day who, funnily enough, actually used to work for Lee Power, saying that Lee basically Swindon Town is running on, I think he said, their wage bill something ridiculous, like for like the entire club is about 400,000. Lee Power
Jesus.
is Lee Power's putting in £2 million a year of his own money.
Yeah, I did read somewhere that he was putting in 2 or 3 million quid.
Yeah, that was every year.
Yeah.
So
I
he's
mean,
even gone on record saying that it's his intention to sell the club when he can. Because it doesn't sound like it's sustainable the way he's pouring money into it. He's going to run out of money at the end of the day. And the
I
fact
think,
is that the majority of Power's money comes from racehorses.
yeah, and that industry's taken a bit of a kicking this year. I mean, if you can't afford the clubs, sell it. I mean, I don't understand why League One and League Two clubs aren't, the salary cap is there. You can make it a profitable business. You just don't spend money on transfers. You just invest it in youth and training facilities and make better players that way and improve the squad. And then you bring in an manager that is ambitious, and then you try and sign free agents. It's not the most difficult thing in the world. I mean, why make it a ball ache? I don't think it's that difficult. That's what I do on Football Manager. I just find cheap players, bring them in, even if they're no good, and just play them and try and train them up. That's okay. Yeah, it's a simplistic view of it, but that's how League Two and League One clubs should operate. Forget the academy, scrap the academy, save that money, go sign a bunch of released players from like Liverpool, Manchester United, Arsenal, because you're never going to compete for the best young players anyway. It's what Brentford did. They got rid of their academy, and look where they are. They're on the cusp of Premier League football. Follow that business model. A great business model, Brentford. Pay for a new stadium. Use that money ball approach. They don't like that tag. But if you brought more data and analytics into your recruitment policy, then you'd come out with, on paper, a squad that should be good enough to be promoted, and then you just need a manager that also is good enough to be promoted. So I don't think it's that hard to run a club at a profit, especially with the salary cap. I think without the salary cap, it's a lot harder. But now that there's the salary cap, maybe I'm just being an idiot about it and thinking the mythical salary cap is going to save all League One and League Two clubs, but I don't know. I thought that's what the salary cap was there for.
It should be what it's there for. I imagine it is also there to stop any like mass clubs with big financial backing, but poor performances on the pitch drop them down. Sorry?
Salford.
Salford, Sunderland as well.
Portsmouth.
Clubs that have got more money than their league positioning would suggest. I think it's designed to stop them from overspending as well. But no, I think Power's bent on selling the club. So
do you think he's done a good job?
I think he has, and I think a lot of Swindon Town fans are using. I think they use Power as a scapegoat sometimes, but as a substitute, as an excuse to bash the performances by the players on the pitch. And a lot of the time, you just got to look at. I mean, if you look at Richie Wellens, he managed to get not only good players but players that work together. A lot of the time, the problem Swindon have had is that they've had some good players, some not so good players, but can't work together as a team. And then that falls on Power, and they're saying that it's his fault. It's his fault that the club are in the position they're in. But if you look at it from a financial perspective, I mean, this is something that happened around the time me and you started college. Was when Di Canio first left. Matt Ritchie, he left the club even though he said he wasn't going to, because Matt Ritchie was sold from under his nose to Bournemouth. We're going back time here. Matt Ritchie.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
things like that. And Andrew Black, the former owner of the club, because of the way Di Canio was spending money, had to sell up, and the club went into administration countless times during that period. I remember chatting to a friend of mine who works at the county ground, well, or someone they know works at the county ground, saying that for a long time after that, for about 2 or 3 years, the club was hemorrhaging money when it was owned by that consortium led by Jed McCrory. They said it was the simple things like, they couldn't afford to pay for the barrels of alcohol that they fill the taps with on game day in the Legends Lounge. They couldn't afford the booze there. They said if
Yeah.
he's done anything for the club, he's got it financially steady. He's got it self-sufficient.
I do remember the darkest moment in recent memory is Swindon Town's appearance on Can't Pay, We'll Take It Away on Channel 5.
Yep.
That was during the legal battle between Power and McCrory. I don't know. I'm always, when it comes to Power, I just view him as unambitious, lacking in ambition. I mean, it's all right if you want to sign cheap players. That's fine. That's what I spent about 60 seconds saying you can do that and still get promoted. You just need to have a little bit more of a sensible approach and an analytical approach. What you don't need to do is appoint Tim Sherwood, the director of football, or Paul Jewell, the director of football. People that are dinosaurs of the game, like Paul Jewell, that really don't know that much about the modern game. When was Paul Jewell last successful as a manager? He was the manager of that awful Derby County team. Other than Wigan, really, why don't you bring in an ex-player? Why don't you bring back Paul Bowden or somebody like that to make him director of football? Why don't you get a big-name ex-player to be the director of football, not Tim Sherwood? Although I would have liked to have seen Tim Sherwood as manager, to be honest. When he was appointed director of football, I was very disappointed. Because I thought, when he was appointed, I was like, if he's managing this club, I'd absolutely freaking love it. That's an ambitious appointment. But anyway, turns out he was absolutely rubbish.
Not as disappointed as I was when he first introduced Tim Sherwood at that press conference, and they had the strategically placed 3 cans of Red Bull on the stage, and the rumor went round that town Lee Power was going to sell up to Red Bull.
Red Bull Swindon.
That would have given us money. We
would have been playing at the Red Bull Arena, and we'd have been.
We would have been
Red Bull Swindon. Yeah, Red Bull Swindon. Hey, do it. Hey, even if you bought Swindon Supermarine, I'd do it. I'd change allegiances very quickly. I just want Swindon in the Premier League. Hey, go as far out as Highworth Town for all I care. Hopefully, when it comes to Swindon, our team, there are prospective new owners on it. There's a legal battle about the ownership of the club as well at the moment. I don't know much about that. And then apparently the fans are trying to buy half the plot of land for the stadium, with the club buying the other half. I don't know what the deal is with that, whether that's still going ahead. But let's hope it does. So Derby County, it's between Wayne Rooney and John Terry, really, isn't it? So we'll wait and see. We will wait and see. Right, to Scotland, Glasgow, the could be 10-time in a row champions of Scotland. Well, alas, not really anymore, because Celtic they've not done a great job this season. Out of the Europa League midweek already. Rangers are obviously through and are top of the league and are now, I believe, 10 points clear. Around 10 points clear in the Scottish Premier League. And Celtic and Hibs drew last weekend, with the Rangers winning 4-0. This weekend we had, who did we have? Where are they? So we haven't got any games this weekend because it's the Scottish Cup. But Celtic are second in the league, now 11 points behind Rangers. It should be noted that they do have 2 games in hand. Steven Gerrard is doing a fabulous job at Rangers, but we're here to talk about Neil Lennon. Neil Lennon. And should he be sacked as a Celtic manager? I dislike the speculation, but shows like this do it all the time. So why should we be any different? I'm on the I'm not on the fence anymore. After they got knocked out of the Europa League, I'm like, sack him. My mind is firmly made up on Neil Lennon. It's very difficult to have an encore performance as a manager. Very difficult. And I think he's fallen victim to having a great first run, going to Bolton, getting sacked, and then going to Hibernian, doing a decent job, and then going back to Celtic for an encore, and just hasn't worked for him. And obviously he's followed a very difficult manager in Brendan Rodgers, who was so successful with Celtic. And then the predecessor to Brendan Rodgers was Neil Lennon. He was successful, very successful as Celtic manager. So Neil Lennon, sacked or reprieve? What do you give him, Tom?
I would say he needs to be sacked. I think we can look at this and draw similarities to, you know, I'm not one of these people who are for like encore performances when managers come back. I mean, look at Jose Mourinho's encore at Chelsea, how well that went. Mourinho always seems to have it 3-season blues whenever he goes to a club. That season where Chelsea finished in the bottom half of the table, I think.
That was a disastrous season.
Yeah, and I think that was the result of an encore season where you get managers who are treated as heroes and then get the heroes welcome, but then when you can see that they can no longer provide the goods anymore, that's the difficult one. That's the bitter pill for Neil Lennon that he's going to have to swallow, I think. So I think, to be fair, he may have outstayed his welcome at Celtic, because I would say Celtic are very much like PSG. They are a massive fish in a tiny pond. I mean, they're nowhere near the same level and playing power and financial power as PSG. But when you've won the league so many times, there's, you want to go through and shatter that glass ceiling, but there's no ceiling there anymore. Celtic need to be aiming for at least a push in the Europa League. I mean, in the last 15, 20 years, Celtic were probably, quite a common name to be seen in the Champions League. 2002, they were in the Champions League final against Porto. So I think winning the Scottish League, it's like PSG. That's a minimum requirement. That's just, something you've just got to guarantee. That'll be ironclad in your contract. But for Celtic now, their target should be getting a position in Europe, winning the Europa League. And, for the last few years, they haven't delivered. They've always gone out at a group stage or even in the qualifying round. So I just don't think Neil Lennon will be the right person to take him to that next stage.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I don't, I'm not one of these guys that like speculating on a manager. I'm one of the first people to text BBC Wiltshire and say the manager needs time. And as Brian Clough once said, the one thing you don't get in football's time. But I'm always a fan of managers signing long-term contracts and getting the time to turn it around. However, for Neil Lennon, I just don't think this encore has worked. I think the Celtic squad is too old. I think they've not allowed. I think it is a rebuilding job there. I think the dynasty's over for Celtic as far as they're concerned. I think it's Rangers' time now, and I think Celtic fans just have to remember how dominant they've been and just accept that, take it on the chin this season, and accept that Rangers have just beaten you to the punch. Not all hope is lost. As I say, they have got 2 games in hand. They are 11 points behind. They win those 2 games in hand. It reduces the gap somewhat to, what is it? I'm bad at maths. 10, 9...
5 points.
5 points. There you go. Thank you very much. You can tell he works. You can tell he works in finance because he's good with numbers. Hey, numbers not my thing. But let's have I do think Neil Lennon's time has come. I never saw him as a Someone, when he was when the Celtic job the first time, someone remarked to me and said he's more a pub landlord than a football manager. And that was incredibly harsh assessment considering how successful he was at Celtic first time round. But this time round, no, it's just the players clearly it's a rebuilding job that they need. They've been so successful. I think they've become slightly they've allowed complacency to slip into their transfer policy as well. And I don't think the quality of the players that they're going for in the transfer market are as up to standard as they would have been 10 years ago. You could have argued that Celtic 10 years ago that the type of player Celtic would have been buying would have been the same kind of player that Blackburn and Bolton Wanderers were after. Now you would argue that Celtic would be after the same kind of player that a Brentford or a QPR are after. That's how much their transfer, whether that's the worth of Scottish football or whether that's just their transfer policy, you would just say that they don't want as good they can't attract as good a type of player anymore.
I think a lot of players want to go to a club to like face fresh challenges, where I think a lot of people opt for Celtic because, for lack of a better term, it's easy. They may look at it as easy silverware.
It is. It's easy. It's not. It's not a difficult league to win. All you've got to do is overcome Rangers every year, and unless somebody with big money takes over Hibs or Hearts, then really you're not going to have that challenge or Aberdeen or Dundee United. So you're not going to see that challenge. Let's have a look at the sack race then. Let's have a look at the next manager odds. My favourite already, although I don't think he gave himself a good advert when he was invited on the Monday Night Football, Eddie Howe, 17-10 with Paddy Power. Obviously left Bournemouth. I think that's a perfect job for Eddie Howe to rebuild himself and build up that club. It just strikes me that it's a very good job, like it was for Brendan Rodgers. When Brendan Rodgers left Liverpool, needed a rebuild of his own career, went to Celtic and just dominated. I think Eddie Howe needs that now after being relegated with Bournemouth. I don't particularly think it was his fault that they were relegated. I put it down to their poor transfer policy and ageing players and lack of ability up front. But I think that would be a good opportunity to rebuild him.
Having said that, Callum Wilson was knocking him in for fun at Newcastle.
I know, and he wouldn't do it for Bournemouth last season. You've got to ask why,
To be fair, I could see Eddie Howe as a contender for the Derby job.
No, I think that's too low for him. I think he's done with the Championship. I think he proved himself with Bournemouth. I think the Championship is beneath Eddie Howe, and he is in the running for the Derby job, but he's very much way down the pecking order.
So he could do a similar job, if Chris Wilder's the next one out, the next Premier League manager out, Sheffield United.
But I also don't see him doing that one because I think he would look at it and go, that's, Sheffield United's problems are a little bit like Bournemouth. They just don't have goals in them. That is the problem with Sheffield United. Like last season, they had a goalkeeper that was able to keep out goals, but they weren't prolific goal scorers. And I think that's, now that they got rid of Henderson, I think you're seeing that they're conceding more goals and they can't score as many because they were never that prolific up front anyway last season. Still 1-0 to West Bromwich Albion, by the way.
It was more of a case of that Henderson would keep him in the game long enough.
Pretty much, yeah, and then they'd be able to scrape it. And this season we're seeing that not being true. They can't do it this season because they haven't got Henderson in goal. But, I don't see Eddie Howe becoming Derby manager. I don't see him becoming Sheffield United manager. I could see Neil Lennon potentially staying until the end of the season and then the Celtic board going after Eddie Howe and then him coming in at the end of the season. I don't know if Eddie Howe would want to take over Celtic midway through the season, but I do see it as the perfect job for him as a way of rebuilding. Let's have a look at some of the other candidates and see if it raises an eyebrow or two from Tom. Henrik Larsson, number 2, 3-1, former manager of Helsingborg, obviously ex-Celtic player and Manchester United player at one point. Celtic legend Henrik Larsson. I think, as much as I like seeing, we're in the age of the ex-player being the manager with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Manchester United, Arteta at Arsenal, Zidane, Real, and even Barcelona. Even Barcelona have an ex-player as manager. So we're in it. And Lampard at Chelsea, of course. Yeah, so we are in the era of the ex-player being the manager of the club they played for. But I don't see Henrik Larsson being successful at Celtic.
I mean, I think if it'd be down to Henrik Larsson, and he would have to ask himself, how much do I love this club? How much did I love it in my playing days? Because you can see that there's a bit more of a drive from managers who are ex players of the clubs they've played for in the past. There's a bit more drive to it, and you can see that in a lot of the players. That none of the teams that are being managed by ex players at the moment are actually doing that badly. There's no glaring errors. So I think if it would be down to his love for the club whether he would do it or not, because then you'll find that he may have that motivation to actually see the club do well, because it is a club, that could be close to his heart. Whereas, if you could bring in a manager who views it as an opportunity to further themselves, if you bring in someone like Eddie Howe, who's probably going to use that club as his rebuilding job, until the next big offer comes in, and he's
exactly
regained a bit of
he's got that
focus.
polish.
Yeah, once he's polished himself off a bit, dusted himself down, he might move on to the next big opportunity, which could be like, a decent sized championship or lower league Premier League club. Whereas I think you want a manager who's going to see the job done. They love the club and they want to see it successful. If you look at Arsenal, the way they've recruited Arteta and the faith they've shown in him is the fact that, he's a former player, he loves the club, he wants to see it do well, and he's got the full back in there. And I think that's what you're going to need from any board previously. They'll want to see a love for the club.
I will add that I don't see Henrik Larsson leaving his current job as assistant manager of Barcelona. I think he might enjoy that job, even though he's probably only going to be there for a year. He might just see out that opportunity when Barcelona's new president is elected, and then they decide to make Xavi or heck, maybe even Lionel Messi to try and get him to stay. Speaking of Messi, I weirdly saw him linked with Chelsea, Chelsea this week. I know, right?
You can imagine Messi playing in front of the half-empty stands of Stamford Bridge.
Hey, it's either the half-empty stands of Stamford Bridge or the empty Had Stadium. By the way, Leo, my £1 offer for you to come play for Swindon Town is still on the table. I'll pay £1 a week of your wages.
I think what we could do, if we got every single Swindon Town fan to contribute £1 a week, you could probably get him to play for a season.
I mean, what's the capacity of Swindon Town? 15,000? Just over 14,000. So that's 16. If every fan gave £1, £16,000 a week. That's a massive pay cut for him.
Yeah, but you're thinking to yourself Swindon Town's fan base is only as big as its stadium capacity.
That's true. There's 250,000 people. Maybe Swindon Borough Council should just introduce a new Messi tax. Every citizen has to pay £1, even children. Goodness.
They already have an extremely messy tax. It's called child tax credit.
Let's look at the third favourite for the Celtic job. Gordon Strachan, former Scotland manager and, of course, former Celtic manager, 11-2. I don't see Gordon Strachan going back. I just don't see that happening.
No, they need to learn their lesson from encore performances from managers. Yeah. They need to. If they're not learning their lesson, they're basically learning their lesson now with Neil Lennon. All they'd be doing is the exact same with Gordon Strachan.
Yeah. Although I didn't mention this, but the best encore performance for a manager has to go to Eddie Howe, who of course left Bournemouth in League One, went to Burnley, came back, got them promoted, and got them promoted again. So if there's one guy that knows how to pull off an encore performance, it is Eddie Howe. Next up, I think this one's very interesting. 7-1. Marco Silva, former Everton and Hull City manager. That one's interesting to me. He should be up there. I think he should be ahead of Henrik Larsson. I think he should actually be in the running. I think that's interesting. That's interesting to me. What about you? Is that something that you're against?
I mean, I'd be all for it, to be fair. I think that'd be really good for Celtic and really good for Marco Silva, but it's just one that I don't see happening.
I don't know. I could see it happening, but obviously I want Eddie Howe. I think he's the best person for the job, but it's about whether they're going to pay him the right money. Then next up, it's Malky Mackay. That's not happening, so we can skip that one. 17-2 for Malky. Jack Ross.
Malky Mackay. What name from What a throwback name.
I know. When was he last in work? 2015, apparently. Wigan Athletic.
Are you going to tell me that the next one that they're going to throw out is Tony Mowbray?
Well, he's not on the list. I think they learnt that lesson from him having quite a poor run previously before Neil Lennon took over. Or was it Gordon Strachan that took the job again? It might have been Gordon Strachan that took over from Tony Mowbray again, and then
they might be able
Neil
to
Lennon.
They might be able to pay enough money to pull Phil Brown off his sun lounger.
Yeah, don't you mean his tanning bed?
Yeah,
tanning machine, or down the salon. I wonder what his tan's looking like nowadays. Probably just a bunch of fake tan, isn't it? Jack Ross, the current Hibernian manager, don't see that happening. Steve Clarke is not leaving the Scotland job after qualifying for the Euros, so he ain't joining Celtic. Oh my goodness, here's one I don't. All right, 2 I don't see. Actually, no, 3 I don't see happening. David Moyes at 9-1.
Nah, not a chance.
Rafa Benitez at 10-1, who's currently managing out in China.
Nah, the money's too good out there.
He was the favourite for the Derby County job last week. Rafa Benitez, a Derby County manager. That's quite a drop. We were chatting about that last week. He was the favourite for the Derby job. He's fallen way down the pecking order this week. And then at 10-1, another one I don't see happening, considering he's a former Celtic manager, and he's kind of fallen down the managerial pecking order. Martin O'Neill.
No, I don't see it. He hadn't had the best time in his most recent managerial jobs. It wasn't too long ago he was managing a very bad Aston Villa side.
Yeah, well, he didn't stand the test of time at Nottingham Forest in his last job with Roy Keane as his assistant. Oh, maybe Roy Keane. He's not in the running. Apparently, he was in the running for the Salford job, but then they gave it to Richie Wellens instead. I'm just looking for the oddball ones now for the Celtic job. Sam Allardyce, 16-1 for Celtic. That's not happening. Paul Lambert is 16-1. Mick McCarthy. Oh no, he's too busy in Cyprus. He's too busy in Cyprus right now, isn't he? Alan Pardew, 25-1. The current director of football of CSKA Sofia. How the mighty have fallen. And go on, Celtic. I'll put a £1 bet on this one. 25-1. Mauricio Pochettino.
Not a chance. Oh my god.
And then we've got the immortal Tony Mowbray at 33-1. Yeah. So, and then oh my goodness, this is the best one yet. 80-1. Never gonna happen. Hell would have to freeze over for this one. Got any idea of who I'm about to say, Tom?
Arsene Wenger.
No, Ali McCoist, former Rangers legend. Former Rangers manager and Rangers legend Ali McCoist, 80-1 to get the Celtic job. Oh, that's given me a right smile. We're going to talk now about Zlatan and his agent for... Well, it's weird because is Zlatan going to sue EA Sports? Well, FIFA 21 apparently hasn't asked permission to use Zlatan's likeness. Now, Gareth Bale is getting involved in this discussion. The AC Milan striker has never been one to shy away from the spotlight, but now the Swede is questioning whether he should be on the FIFA 21 and now EA Sport, and how EA Sports are profiting from his image. Ibrahimovic took to Twitter, tweeting, "Who gave FIFA EA Sports permission to use my name and face? FIFA Pro? I'm not aware of being a member of FIFA Pro, and if I am, I was there without any real knowledge through some weird maneuver. And for sure, I never allowed FIFA or FIFA Pro to make money using me. Somebody is making a profit on my name and face without any agreement. All these years, time to investigate." Me and Tom had a conversation about this off air, and Tom was like, "Oh, his agent's that who is it? Mino
Raiola."
Yes, who was a money grabbing fraud, allegedly. Well, I will get onto that because Simon Jordan had the former Crystal Palace chairman and owner, had some pretty strong words to say on his TalkSport, and I never thought I'd say I absolutely freaking love Simon Jordan. He's on Jim White's show on TalkSport. It's absolutely amazing. So Gareth Bale then tweeted, "Interesting. What is FIFA Pro? # time to investigate." So, how do EA Sports use footballers like this? Well, EA Sports obtains license from for players in different ways. The Premier League, for example, is all bought as one package, whereas Serie A clubs like Zlatan's AC Milan are bought individually, such as the recently acquired David Beckham David Beckham deal that they signed. So FIFA 21 has Gareth Bale because he's on loan at Tottenham. He's a part of the Premier League package, which EA paid the Premier League very good money for. AC Milan is another package, which explains Ibra, and in fact, actually, EA have a partnership deal with both Milan clubs that allow the use of AC Milan and Inter Milan's kit and stadium. Zlatan has been heavily used to publicise this deal. The Federation of International Football Professional Association, so the Football Association of Professional Footballers, otherwise known as FIFA Pro, which you heard Zlatan reference in his tweets, is a global representative of professional footballers. EA and rival developers Konami, who produce PES, license the use of thousands of footballers via FIFA Pro each year. All are quite cut and dry situations, and I think Sega and Sports Interactive do similar things with FIFA Pro as well. Obviously, they have the rights to the English Football League, and the National League clubs. So use of their kits, player photos, and identification, which is why Manchester United were so annoyed at Sega and Sports Interactive Games for using the Manchester United name in their games, and then directing users of the game to download club badges and kits, which as a owner of Football Manager 2020 and of 2021, I totally haven't done for legal reasons. If you watch my Football Manager streams, you'll see that I've got every Premier League club badge on there. And the logos for the Champions League and everything. All the unlicensed competitions. So, why is Zlatan questioning what has been pretty obvious, or sorry, not obvious, but standard for years? As is customary in football these days, it's not so much that the players are worried about their profits. It's seemingly their agents. We jump to this brilliant article from TalkSport, and Simon Jordan, he's well known for his dislike of football agents, and he took it to new levels, labelling Mino... What's his name again? Mino Raiola a parasite. During a heated discussion on Thursday's episode of Jim White's show on TalkSport. I love Simon Jordan. He talks so much sense. You know, from a football business perspective, from a football fan's perspective. I do remember him having a go at the Arsenal fan TV guy. I think he just Robbie. Which I was kind of a bit on, and I'm no lover of Arsenal fan TV, but that one was kind of that's the only time I've ever disagreed with Simon Jordan, because I think the fans are allowed to voice. Arsenal fan TV is a unique example of a fan voice channel making money. But if you can do it, I'm all for it. But Simon Jordan, I normally agree with most things he says. So the TalkSport host and super agent had a chat on Jim White's show, to the point where Mino Raiola actually said he didn't care what Simon Jordan's opinion is. He's got a vendetta out against him. To which Simon Jordan said, "You're as problematic to me as a rainy day." Or something like that, or a cloudy sky. You're as problematic to me as a cloudy sky, which I thought was an excellent comeback. And then he essentially said this call is over, and said he would only ever talk to Jim White and not Simon Jordan ever again. So Jordan, so after Jordan asked Raiola why he did not seek an injunction against EA Sports in previous years, the pair got into a heated debate, which is standard legal practice, because if you were going to sue somebody over something, you put an injunction, particularly if it's image rights, you put an injunction to stop one party from using those image rights whilst you sort out a legal challenge. So it would be quite common to see an injunction. So Simon Jordan is well within his rights to say, why have you not put an injunction against EA to stop the use of the image rights for Zlatan, for Bale, and for all of those players? And Jordan just reports and says, I suspect this is about money. And Raiola retorts and says it's all about money. It's all about the importance of money, because it's not EA Sports. It's not a charity foundation. For you, nothing is about money, because you do everything for charity. You're the nicest guy in the world. This is where it gets nasty, Tom. I'll send you the video after we're done, because it's very good. But then Jordan replies, I enjoy listening to you as charity, so yeah. Oh, I love it. And then Raiola just says, this is about money, this is about rights, this is about who can exploit whose rights, it's principle. Why we don't do the things before or after is a call we will make and won't explain now. This is the moment now, it's come out. Jordan replies, this isn't about principles. If you go to court for a principle, you'll lose. You go to court on a point of law. I've been into court many times on many levels, from tens of millions to 50p. Raiola retorts and responds saying, listen, you are the best guy in England, not England, the world. Jordan replies again, Mino, I realise you are a law unto yourself, and ultimately you can't be challenged, but there is no need to be facetious. And then Raiola just says, I'm not on the radio program to discuss with you what our strategy is. I'm here to say we have a position that EA doesn't have the rights to the players in that game. Jordan then asks him, and I'm asking you a question because it's not advertorial for you, it's a debate. And then Raiola says, the statement is that I have bought those rights. That is what their statement is today. We are saying those rights cannot be bought by the organisation. Jordan then says, what is this about? What this is about is someone like you popping up and say, we're missing an opportunity here, and ultimately I can monetize, and of course I'll be paid commission on that, which is what we were talking about off air, Tom. Because he clearly wants his cake and another one to go alongside it. He doesn't just want to eat the cake, he wants to eat the other one alongside it. Here's the retort. Here's what really made me giggle. So Raiola says, You know what the nice thing is? I don't give a damn about what your opinion is and what you think it is. That's the thing here. And what you think about me is totally irrelevant. And then Jordan goes, Mino, I have no opinion on you. You're about as troublesome to me as a cloudy day. I'm asking you a question. Oh, right. That is the... So that's the debate that they had. EA, I think they did release a statement on this, EA, and I'll try and get that. But what's the likely... I'll get to the likely outcome to this feud, but has FIFA 21 used Zlatan Ibrahimovic without his consent? EA don't seem to think so. And then they said, to be very clear, we have contractual rights to include the likeness of all players currently in our game. We are aware of discussions around licensing of players in EA Sports Series FIFA. The current situation being played out on social media is an attempt to draw FIFA 21 into dispute between a number of third parties and has little to do with EA Sports. So it doesn't actually look like Ibra or Bale are getting dumped out of the Ultimate Team anytime soon. Considering that Beckham got a substantial deal for appearing on the cover, and I think you can play as Beckham's entire career if you buy the Beckham expansion pack on FIFA 21. You can play out his career, I think, from LA to PSG and AC Milan as well. I'm not sure about Manchester United, but I know you definitely play him as PSG in his PSG days. And the fact that Dua Lipa is in the is in FIFA 21 as well. Why, I've got no idea, but Dua Lipa is in FIFA 21. No idea why, but
her name sounds like an Italian man telling me to jump.
Dua Lipa. Yeah, Dua Lipa is in the game, and Rialo argues that she's probably getting more commission than he is on that on her image, right? Well, she's not a footballer; she's a musician and singer. It's just reeks of agent. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the thing is that whenever you listen to what Mino Raiola said, like, you can't listen to what Mino Raiola says because he's shown before his true colours, the fact that, he likes to cause trouble if it causes him money. I mean, what we were saying off air is the fact that he was the one he was probably the main cause of the rift between Paul Pogba and Man United when Jose Mourinho was manager. When Raiola came out and said that Man United have never known how to use Paul Pogba, and he was the one who helped facilitate Paul Pogba's transfer back to Man United. He's never been a consistent player, Paul Pogba, for Man United. But that whole transfer did sound like his agent wanting to instigate a massive transfer deal. Yeah, absolutely. That's why it became the most expensive transfer in the world at the time. So it does just sound like a money grab from Raiola's part,
Yeah, now we're seeing them trying to get more money out of EA Sports, who are, to be fair to them, the biggest video games company on the planet. And if anyone's got the money, it's Electronic Arts. I mean, they're just massive. But does this open a can? I don't think they've got a legal leg to stand on, to be honest, because I think EA do cover their rights well, and obviously when it comes to the Premier League, they have all the rights to the kits, stadiums, and player likeness and images as well. And I think they've always done deals with individual clubs, whatever the structure of the league is, to be honest. So in Italy, it's always been individual clubs, which is why if you play the FIFA games, you won't see Juventus in FIFA 20 or FIFA 21. They'll be under the name Zebra because PES owns the rights for
Juventus.
but you'll still see the Juventus players. Some of them will have their names changed as they do in Football Manager, but or the model likenesses will be based on previous designs from FIFA, so they won't have changed that much. Which is why Cristiano Ronaldo might be better looking in PES than he is in FIFA. So there you go. But I don't think they have a legal leg to stand on. First and foremost, this reeks of them trying to get money, and the fact that EA are now doing deals with. I think this all comes from the fact that EA have done deals with David Beckham, who's retired and not a player, so they had to approach him and his management team for rights to use him and his likeness. The Beckham brand is worth millions. Why they gave Dua Lipa money to be in FIFA 21. Lewis Hamilton's apparently going to rock up at some point in FIFA 21, and several other celebrities are going to rock up in FIFA 21.
It does sound like a money grab, because if you think, well, back when they first released FIFA 17, I think it was the first one, when they started doing the old Alex Hunter story, even when I think it was FIFA 18, in that career path, in that career mode, James Harden makes an appearance, so they would have had to approach the NBA for that as well. So I think EA have done a stellar job in that regard of approaching the case of image rights quite carefully. They've and it's strange how this is just one case. This is one person, one group of people who have decided that this is a situation that needs to be addressed. Because I mean, if you look at it from a money standpoint, if you look at the other players that Mino Raiola manages,
they're the biggest names in football.
They're the biggest names in football, but they're also some of the oldest names, as in they're approaching the end of their career. So there's not many. If you look at, I mean, Ibra's nearly 40.
Yeah, that's true.
There's not going to be many transfers that Mino Raiola can facilitate for Ibrahimovic. So that's going to be a huge chunk of his pay gone. I mean, if you look at Paul Pogba, he's not having the best time at Man United, hence why Raiola would create as much drama as he possibly can to facilitate a transfer away, because he knows that if Pogba's, you could argue saying that if Pogba's form continues to decline, there'll be fewer and fewer clubs that will queue up for him. And therefore, if that's the case, then Mino Raiola makes no money.
Absolutely. It's all to do with Mino Raiola. It's the Mino Raiola show. And,
That's why he makes all this noise about Paul Pogba saying going to Barcelona. Him getting Paul Pogba to Barcelona would be his biggest payday.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got to buy he's got to buy that Lamborghini for Christmas somehow. I mean, it just reeks of vermin. Football agents are just vermin. There are good agents, no doubt, but they're a bad agent. He's just one of the worst. He's clearly there for the money. He doesn't care about the players. I don't know. It's sad, but I don't think they've got a legal leg to stand on, so I think we'll be reporting on an EA victory very soon.
Yeah, I think if you look at it as well, look at Mino Raiola when he's around the players. A lot of the time, he's better dressed than they are.
Hey, that agent's commission isn't cheap.
Absolutely.
We are just waiting for the end of the West Brom Sheffield United game. Go on.
I was going to say I need to find out how someone becomes a footballing agent, because it sounds like I'm in the wrong job.
I know, it'd be nice, wouldn't it, to make all that money, man? It'd be nice. Just waiting for the end of the West Bromwich Albion Sheffield United match. Still 1-0 at the moment. 97th minute of the match. Begs the question, who got injured? Still 1-0. Injury time, yeah. 7 minutes. And it means that Sheffield United will be the only team without a win in the Premier League. Oh, Chris Wilder's job does not look safe. Although George Baldock has just drilled it into Rhian Brewster, who's just missed the opportunity to score a late equaliser for Sheffield United. So still waiting for that game to finish. It has just finished. Sheffield United are the only team in the Premier League without a victory. It is West Bromwich Albion 1, Sheffield United 0. And just because I despise Zinedine Zidane, Real Madrid are losing 2-1 to Alaves at home as well. So, hey, what's that? You're fourth in the table. Of course, the biggest club in Spain are top of the La Liga, Real Sociedad. Real Sociedad are top of the Spanish league.
Imagine how Real feel knowing that at the moment they're the second best club with Real in the name in the league.
Exactly. Hey, they're not even the best team in Madrid because Atleti are second. Obviously, they haven't played this weekend, and Villarreal are third, but Barcelona way down in 14th.
They're not even the best club that plays in white.
No, not even that. Not even that. Right, we've got enough time to bring you the tables then, now that the West Brom and Sheffield United match has finished. We will... I was going to say I'll skip over League 1 and League 2 because there weren't that many games, but we won't because we'll start with the National League. And despite there not being that many games, Yeovil Town still bottom in 23rd position, Dover Athletic in 22nd, Weymouth 21st on 5, 6 and 7 points respectively, and then 20th place is FC Halifax Town also on 7. The playoff places look like this. 7th place is Notts County on 16 points. Maidenhead United lost today, but a 6th place on 17 points. Wealdstone also on 17 in 5th. Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElherney's Wrexham are 4th on 17 points. Also Woking in 3rd, also on 17. Sutton United are 2nd on 20. And then it's Torquay United, top of the league, on 22 points. Not many games from League 2 tonight. Only 2 matches from League 2. So not much radical change. Southend still bottom on 24th. In 24th place on 5 points. Scunthorpe United 23rd on 11, as are Mansfield in 22nd, Stevenage in 21st, also on 11. Playoff places look like this. It is Carlisle United in 7th place with Salford 8th on 22nd, on 22 points, sorry. Carlisle United is 7th on 23. Leyton Orient and Exeter City 6th and 5th, both on 24. Forest Green are on 25 points in 4th place. Also on 25 points are Cambridge United in 3rd. Cheltenham Town are 2nd on 26 points. And then Newport County, League 2 leaders, on 29 points. League 1, Wigan Athletic on 8 points at the bottom of the league. Shrewsbury Town 23rd on 9 points. They've just appointed a new manager. Shrewsbury Town, I believe it is the former Bristol City manager. I can't remember his name. I can't remember the name. It's Steve Cottrell. That's who I'm thinking of. Sorry, I just had to Google that. Steve Cottrell is the new Shrewsbury Town manager. Burton Albion are 22nd on 10 points. Bristol Rovers are 21st on 13. Then it's Rochdale in 20th, also on 13. Then the worst team in England are 19th, also on 13 points. Oxford United, by the way. Ipswich Town are 6th in League 1 on 25 points. Portsmouth also on 25 in 5th. Lincoln City are 4th on 26, also on 26. Our 3rd place Charlton Athletic. 28 points for Peterborough United, who lost today to Chorley in the FA Cup in the shock of the day. 2-1 defeat at home to non-league Chorley. And then Hull City are at the top of the table, 2 points clear of Peterborough. They are on 30 points. The Championship. Bottom of the table, Derby County drew today with Wycombe Wanderers, a late equaliser for Wayne Rooney's side. 23rd in the table, Sheffield Wednesday on 8 points they drew today. Wycombe Wanderers, obviously drawing against Derby County, are in 22nd place on 10 points. Then Nottingham Forest, 21st on 12 points. Playoffs look like this. Swansea City just outside the playoffs on 23 points in 7th. Also on 23. They won on Friday. It's Brentford. They beat QPR by 2-1 in that East London derby. West London. Sorry,
West London.
West London. Sorry, I'm getting confused. North, East, South, and West. West London derby. I go past Brentford's new ground and their old ground all the time when I head into London. Brentford in 6th place on 23 points. 24 points for Bristol City, who are 5th. 26 points for Reading, who are 4th. And Watford, who are 3rd. 27 points for Bournemouth, who are 2nd in the league. And then it's top of the table, Norwich, on 28. 4 matches from the Premier League today. Let's have a look at what that does to the table, because it has changed at the bottom of the table. Sheffield United now the only team in the Premier League not to have won a game, only on 1 point. Fulham are 19th in the Premier League, having won a game. They're on 4 points. Burnley, they won last weekend. They are on 5 points. And they are in 18th position. West Brom now, after their win against Sheffield United, climbing out of the relegation zone. They're 17th on 6 points. And then, surprisingly enough, Brighton and Hove Albion are 16th on 10 points. I don't imagine they'll be anywhere near there during the end of the season. The European places look like this. Aston Villa are in 7th place, joint with Man City, who are 8th on 15 points. Everton are now 6th, following their loss to Leeds United. Marcelo Bielsa becomes the first Leeds manager since Howard Wilkinson in 1990 to get a win at Goodison Park. Everton are 6th on 16 points. Southampton taking the Europa League spot. Thursday nights are a-coming. If they stay there, that's 5th position for them, 17 points. Leicester on 18 points in 4th place, haven't played yet this weekend. Neither has Southampton, to be fair. Chelsea also haven't played this weekend, 18 points for them. They're on 3rd position. Tottenham are 2nd on 20 points, haven't played this weekend. And Liverpool looking like they may lose top spot this weekend if Tottenham do win after they drew with Brighton. But they're on 21 points. And that is where we're going to leave it. We didn't have time for the Football Manager chat. Salisbury City, I got them into the Championship. That's my best achievement. Oh, and winning the Champions League with 1860 Munich. Tom, quickly, best achievement on Football Manager, or what's your best achievement, quickly?
Never played Football Manager.
Oh, trust me, it'll, your mental health will thank you for not playing it. You save a lot of money on smashed computer screens. Thank God for that. Hey, podcast's going to be...
I do play FIFA, though, so I've had my fair share of smashed screens.
FIFA rage. It's scripted. Shall we not get into that? Let's not get into that. Hey, we haven't got the time.
Let's not get into it.
We are at the end of the show. We will see you same time, same place next week. Have a fabulous week. Enjoy the end of Lockdown 2, Electric Boogaloo, and hopefully we'll have a few fans in grounds next week. Have a fabulous week. Bye.